fat, tired, and generally depressed. Yeah, that would be all of us, really. Because that seems to be what's happening in this country. And so the question that I have, wow, there's a little bit of echo. I don't know, is it too loud for you guys, or can you hear it just fine?
Just right, Laura.
Okay, awesome. So I hope that you're here this evening for more than just information. Because as we know, knowledge is power, right? We've heard that before, knowledge is power. So if knowledge is power, what is wisdom? Wisdom is taking action on that knowledge. Because if you don't take action, then how are you ever going to get a result that you're looking for? So if we don't want to be fat, tired, and generally depressed, then we're going to have to take some action. We're going to have to do something about it. And that's part of what tonight is about. Tonight, we will talk about hormones. We're going to talk about belly fat. We are going to talk about what's going on in this country regarding the current health crisis, and we're going to talk about insurance. So you're going to learn a lot this evening. We're going to cover a lot, and tonight is going to be not so much a lecture, it's going to be more of a dialogue. So I'll be asking you to raise your hand, you'll be raising your hand, you'll be shouting out answers, things that you believe in, things that you see going on in the world. So is that okay with you? Excellent. So why are you here? Are you here because you generally just don't feel good and you are looking for answers? Who's here because they just don't generally feel good? And how many of you here because you are interested in getting rid of belly fat? Yeah. Oh, wow. So I see that there are a lot more hands regarding belly fat than there are regarding feeling good, being able to feel good. But let me ask you this. Does that belly fat make you feel good? No, it doesn't. So in some way, even if it's emotional, that belly fat makes you feel not so good. You're not feeling your optimal. And when it comes to health, what we really want to focus on is feeling optimal. Because I believe that we all have a purpose in life. I know I have a purpose in life. Would you say that you have a purpose in life? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And if you don't feel good, can you fulfill on your purpose in life? No. Not to the full capacity, no. Well, and can you help your friend, your child, your grandchild, your spouse fulfill their purpose in life if you're not feeling good? No. That's why it's so important to take action. Sherry, would you turn this set of lights on, please, so they can see the screen better? Thank you. Ginger, do you have a question?
It's kind of like this thing that I'm dealing with that's I'm in relationship with that's always there, and I'm ready to not be friends with them anymore.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that because when it comes to anything in life, it requires a system. We have to have a system, otherwise we don't succeed. So we will talk a lot more about that very thing. Now, before I go any further, I know a lot of you already know me, you have some kind of a relationship with me, perhaps you're already a client, but some of you don't know who I am. So would it be okay if I told you a little bit about who I am and what qualifies me to speak to you? Excellent. So you'll notice that I have a little bit of an accent, and that's because I am from Canada. And I got my Bachelor of Science from the University of Calgary in cellular, molecular, and microbial biology. And I came to Texas to go to chiropractic college. Any guesses why I came to Texas?
Weather.
It was the closest chiropractic college to the equator. I was done with the ice and the snow, and that's the truth. I looked in the book and I said, Texas, that's where I'm going. So my doctorate is in chiropractic. And my specialty training, my postdoctorate training, is in functional nutrition, applied kinesiology, and functional endocrinology. And we'll talk a little about functional endocrinology in a moment. So who knows what an endocrinologist does? Okay, perfect. Diane, what is an endocrinologist? What do they do?
They monitor your endocrine system, your hormones. For me in particular, I'm a type 2 diabetic. so since I was 28, so for the last 40 years, and so they monitor.
So they monitor the endocrine system, the hormones, your type 2, I'm repeating so that everyone can hear, type 2 diabetes since you were 20 years old. So yeah, the endocrinologist works with the endocrine system. So to put that simply, it would be things like your thyroid, your energy levels, your ability to balance your hormone, go through menopause easily, have lots of energy. It deals with the internal organs, the digestive system as well. So when you go to the endocrinologist, first of all, can you just schedule an appointment with the endocrinologist, or you just call them up and say, hey, I want to see you? No, you have to get referred to the endocrinologist. And you get referred to them because, why?
So it's
Because there's a problem, yeah. She said it right up front. Because you have some kind of a problem. Your blood work shows that there's a problem, and so or your MD just doesn't know what to do with you. That happens too. So there's a problem, and then you go to the endocrinologist. And now, what is the treatment when you go to the endocrinologist?
Depends on what you got.
Give you pills or cut it out?
Yeah, pills. Yeah, generally it's pills. Pills, or as my husband so bluntly said, or cut it out. We had gallbladder or whatever. So this is the model that America is in. It's the wait until there's a problem, and then when you have a problem, let's give it a drug, or let's give it some kind of surgery. What I do as a functional endocrinologist is we catch problems before they start, or we look at the blood work in what's the optimal range so that you are functioning, your body is functioning at the optimal level. And many times people can go off of their medication. There are so many people that I've helped to actually reverse late onset diabetes or reverse a thyroid issue, to make changes so that they don't need a medication anymore. How does that sound? Yeah, I got 2 thumbs up in the back. Excellent. Lots of nodding heads. So we see that there is a bit of a health crisis in this country. So what do you guys see? What do you see is happening in this country with our health? Shout it out.
We don't get it under,
Obesity.
we don't get it under control, soon we're going to be in serious shape.
You're right. If we don't get our health as a general culture under control, we're going to be in sad shape. What else?
Getting worse younger.
Lack of nutrition. Something else.
Getting worse younger.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Getting worse younger.
Yes, people are getting sick younger than they used to. For example, late onset diabetes used to be something that we heard our grandparents getting in their 60s and 70s. But now it's younger and younger. Children in elementary school are getting late onset diabetes. So, and she's a nurse, she sees it all the time. People are getting diseases younger and younger compared to what they used to. What else is happening? What else is
Toxins are increasing.
Toxins are increasing. Bad food is increasing.
Prostate cancer,
Yeah, all the kinds of cancers are increasing.
pancreatic cancer, it's
Yeah.
like crazy.
All of them. So as a nation, we are getting sicker and sicker. And it's up to us as an individual to do something about it, for us to take charge of our own health. 85% of all medical procedures and surgeries are scientifically unproven. And that was in the British Medical Journal. So what do they mean by that? What does it mean that 85%, I mean, that's a shocking number, that 85% of medical procedures could be unproven and possibly even be ineffective. What that means is with allopathic, with regular conventional medicine, and trust me, I am not knocking doctors, okay? There is a time and a place to go to the conventional medical doctor, and that's when there's an acute injury. If there's acute injury or acute illness, like if you're ever in a car accident, wouldn't that be a time that's like, okay, take me to the hospital, I'm bleeding, I have bones sticking out from my skin, that kind of thing, or an acute illness. But what they're not trained in is chronic disease, and that is what this is referring to. The 85% is their ineffectiveness to deal with chronic disease.
You know, after 50 years, Medicare is just finally beginning to address any kind of disease management at all.
Yeah, that's true. But yet that's going to be becoming less and less starting in 2014. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of changes coming. Chemotherapy and radiation have a maximum benefit of less than 7% of all major cancers. And we pay for those things. The person with the white lab coat comes in and says, this is the kind of treatment you need radiation and chemotherapy, and that's it, end of discussion. Did they ever talk to you about what nutrition could help prevent that? Did they ever talk to you about what lifestyle could help prevent that? Not so much. I see people shaking their head. 90% of all diseases prevalent today are not treatable with orthodox medical procedures. So that 10% is the acute care. It's like, wow, I'm going to die within the next few minutes. Take me there now. But when it comes to chronic care, that's really up to us. It's our responsibility to do what we can do to be healthy. Now, once again, I want to say that I'm not knocking medical doctors. In fact, one of my brothers is an emergency room physician, and he's an amazing physician. He works at the hospital, the big hospital in Calgary, in Alberta, and he actually teaches at the medical school there. But when it comes to chronic disease, he actually emails me, and the most recent one was, hey, this lady has an issue with her bladder, and it's been going on for 4 years, and I'm kind of at my wit's end, what do I do? And I'm like, oh yeah, do this and this. He's like, okay, cool, thanks. So we work together, and that's, maybe it's just because I'm Canadian, but that's kind of how I see the world, is there's a way for us to all work together. So don't beat up my brother, okay? Alrighty. So I have a video here, and I'm going to unplug a couple cords, put a couple of cords in. It was supposed to start on its own.
We need.
Oh, I'll start from the beginning.
The American healthcare system is badly broken.
The present system doesn't work, and it's going to take us down. We need a whole new kind of medicine.
We're in the grip of a very big industry, and it doesn't want to stop making money.
If I spend 5 minutes with you and then put in one of these stents, I would get paid $1,500. For me to spend 45 minutes with the patient to try to figure out what their true problem is, I would get paid $15. It's a completely irrational system.
We don't have a healthcare system in this country. We have a disease management system.
We're spending almost twice as much in America as any other country on earth, but our lifespan isn't even in the top 20.
30,000 Medicare recipients die each year from care they didn't need. That's the equivalent of a jumbo jet crashing every single week. If the aviation industry killed as many people, we'd be up in arms.
The administration pays you based on how many patients. Who's next? If you try and buck the system, someone says, what can we do to get your productivity up? I'm not interested in getting my productivity up. I'm interested in helping patients.
We're seeing the military just being a microcosm of the problems society's having.
Soldiers' use of prescription drugs has tripled in the past 5 years.
This medication's I was on.
only by accepting that the American healthcare system is badly broken will we be able to seek out the escape fires and potential solutions. There are answers.
One company has figured out how to lower healthcare costs by more than 40%.
We provide incentives for people to engage in healthier behaviors.
The Army Surgeon General directed that we establish the Pain Management Task Force to take a look at alternatives to narcotics.
I was skeptical, so skeptical.
I've gotten a lot of inspiration, a different perspective. There's a different way of doing things that is possible.
If I think about what healthcare could be like, it would have a lot more care in it.
The healthcare system is unsustainable. We're really mortgaging the future. Not just the health of healthcare, but the health of the nation.
So, what did you learn? What did you learn? Go ahead.
We got problems.
Yeah, we got problems.
We have to buck a big system. Take things kind of more into our hands.
Take things more into our own hands, yes.
Well, I noticed that if I go to a doctor and they're only going to spend 5 or 10 or 15 minutes with me, I feel like a number, and so I don't want to go.
Right.
And I just say I can do better on my own, so I won't even bother.
Yeah.
So if you get a doctor spend 10 or 15 minutes with you, you're doing better than most.
Yeah, 10 or 15 minutes, and then in 2012 or 2014, it's going to be even less. But what I see in that video is that doctors are trapped. They're trapped in that system. And so are many of you. Because maybe you didn't realize that maybe there's another way. So it's not that they're bad. It's just that maybe it's up to us to make a better way. Because we have a mission and purpose in life. I know I am fulfilling my mission and purpose in life. I decided when I was 10 years old that I wanted to be a chiropractor. And what I love is educating people and watching people get healthy. In fact, watching this video was the first time I didn't cry. Because there's so many people out there that aren't getting the help that they need. So the insurance industry is a bit of a lie, wouldn't you say? Yeah, it's a huge lie. And if we really look at it kind of like from a financial standpoint, it's a bit of a Ponzi scheme. Because all the money that we put in, if we ask for it back right now, there's not enough money to pay for everything that we would need. So it's a lie in several ways. One is, like when you go to the medical doctor, what does it cost? What's the cost for that?
You don't think it costs anything if you don't write a check or
yeah, but okay, so how much do they actually bill insurance? Because there's
well, they bill them all they can. All the
200,
insurance companies
yeah.
pay for.
200. What other numbers have you guys seen?
I just went and got a physical, and I looked at the bill. It was $1,050.
$1,050 for a physical.
$35 for a physical.
Yeah, and we pay for that. We might think of that maybe we just paid our copay, so we didn't really pay for it. But you've been paying your premiums for years. And please don't think for a minute that in other countries healthcare is free. I'm from Canada, and people think of healthcare there being free. Well, how about having a tax bracket of 55 to 60%? You're going to pay for it one way or the other. So
yeah, when it gets to be free, it's really expensive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, look out. So yes, we're in a health crisis. We have a sick nation, and we're being lied to by the insurance companies. This is a testimonial from one of my patients. Sorry for the noise. Brace yourself.
It's not so bad.
See Dr. Laura. I had been sick for about 6 years with an autoimmune disorder. They had me taking prednisone the entire time, and within a matter of minutes, she was able to determine that the real problem was gluten. It wasn't anything that was wrong inside of me. It was something I needed to avoid. And very thankfully, I didn't have to continue on medication because the doctor's plan was to leave me on prednisone and perhaps even add something like methotrexate as I became sicker and sicker. And so I'm very thankful that within a matter of minutes, she was able to determine what the real problem was, and I was able to avoid that. And within a matter of days, I realized that people were not supposed to hurt every time they ate. And my fatigue went away, and my health went back to better than it really had ever been, because I began to feel normal, and I was able to get off the prednisone and started eating without gluten this time. So I'm very thankful that I didn't have to continue with the rheumatologists who had me taking massive doses of medication all the time.
So what did you learn?
You're still practicing.
You're pretty quick.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah. You'll learn more in your first visit with me than you will ever learn with an MD about how you specifically, as an individual with your fingerprint, can take care of yourself. But what really struck me in what she said, I'm going to unplug this because of that humming noise. What struck me is, how long was she going to be on that medication? Forever. There was no plan. They didn't know. Forever. So maybe that's the wrong model. Maybe we need to kind of shift our thinking a little and start thinking, well, maybe there's other things out there. Like, who's heard of gluten sensitivity? Just raise your hand. I want to see. How many years ago did you start hearing about gluten sensitivity? Just a few years ago? 10 years ago? Would you like to know why?
Yes.
Because the majority of it is because the wheat now is genetically modified. It's not the same wheat. It's not the same protein that's in the grain. That goes for soy. That goes for corn as well. So there are things that we're eating that we're thinking, oh, that's healthy. That's healthy for us. And they're not, because they're genetically modified. Now, there are other countries, especially the European countries, they don't allow genetically modified food. They don't allow it. But they do in this country. So be on the lookout for seeing labels more and more that say not genetically modified. So getting back to the drugs forever, it's one of the things that's a very easy change to make in your lifestyle. So that's one of the chemical things, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. Yes, Derwood?
When you go to the store, grocery store,
yes,
and you see, quote, fresh produce, how do you know?
Fresh produce? You mean like the actual fruits and vegetables?
You know, yeah, you go in there and you see a pile of broccoli or oranges or whatever. How do you know that's not been genetically modified? How can you tell?
Well, there are there's actually online, there are lists of foods that are allowed genetically modified. The majority of the ones that you see in the store are not. It's mostly the grains as well as sugar beets. Sugar beets is one of the main fruits or vegetables. I'm sorry?
I hate beets anyway, so that...
Okay, so one of the other lifestyle changes, change of gear here now. One of the other lifestyle changes is exercise. So we all know that we need to exercise, right? And sometimes, especially regarding exercise, we get the wrong information. And so here's an example. Who knows what this is?
It's an ab rocker.
An ab rocker, ab buster, one of those things. And isn't that woman in the commercial amazing? I mean, she's got those ripped abs. They're just rock hard and like, wow, I want what she has. So we order this thing and we get it home and we set it all up and we think, okay, here's my belly fat. And I'm going to get in this machine and I'm going to bend my fat. So there you are. How long does it take to bend your fat until it's gone?
Still got it, I don't know.
How many times do you have to bend it? It's wrong information. Bending your belly fat is not going to make it go away. So how many of you have a person? Yeah, darn it. How many of you have a personal trainer? A physical personal trainer. Okay. So one of the things that I have seen, and maybe you have experienced this, but perhaps there's somebody that has coached you to lose weight and maybe to exercise. And they have you do about 45 minutes of cardiovascular work, maybe go for a run or get on the treadmill or on the bike, and then do some like stomach crunches or some lunges, something like that. And you do this for about 10 weeks or so, and you think, you know what, there must be something wrong with me because this is not working. So this is a time to write notes. When you are doing cardiovascular work, yes, you're increasing your heart rate, and you're burning calories during the time that you're actually working out. But once you stop, your body goes back to its normal metabolic activity. Now, let's reverse that. So instead of doing cardiovascular work for an hour, 4 times a week, 5 times a week, would you like it more if perhaps you only exercise 2 or 3 times a week? Who would like that? Yeah. And what we do during that time frame is we build muscle. Yeah, exactly. You said it, Debbie. Because muscle burns calories all the time. Wouldn't you like to burn calories when you're sleeping? Yeah. Oh, if you add just 5 pounds of actual muscle to your body, your body will burn 7,500 calories in a month. Try 7,500 calories every month. And that's when you're awake, when you're asleep, when you're on vacation. That muscle is constantly burning fat.
How many glasses of wine is that?
I'm not going to answer that question. It's the troublemaker that always sits in the back of the corner. Just by adding muscle, you will take off so much of that belly fat. Now, some of the belly fat is just it's not your fault. Part of it is just a hormone thing, and we're going to talk about hormones at length in a moment. Ginger, you have a question?
How do we reverse trans fats? I mean, does it take 30 days to get out of our system? Because I love fried chicken.
Ginger, you and I will talk about trans fats after, but the best thing is to really avoid them because they're so inflammatory. They're so inflammatory. Okay, there's this disease, it's called inflammatory breast cancer. So reduce your inflammatory foods. Okay? So we can talk more about trans fats in a moment. All right, so you get the idea about exercise. It's like, okay, so maybe we've been misinformed on how we exercise. Maybe when we increase muscle, and I mean, wouldn't you love to have just a little more muscle? You can do things more, you have more stamina. It helps you balance your hormones, having that muscle. So I ask my patients, are you exercising? And they say to me, yeah, I exercise, I walk my dog. Every day. Oops. So that's cheating.
You have to walk my dogs.
Who are they cheating though?
Themselves.
Themselves, exactly. It's about being proactive. I know it's funny. I mean, at least the dog's getting some exercise. But it's about being proactive, and that's something we can do. If you do a half an hour, 2 to 3 times a week, just to build some muscle, you are being proactive.
Laura, I'm sure you'll get into this later, but what are some good, easy things to build a little bit of muscle mass?
Good, easy things to build some muscle mass.
Well, I mean, maybe that's not a fair question. What are some things that we can be doing quickly within our routine?
Quickly within your routine. There's actually, at the end of the evening, I'm going to extend an offer for people to have a consultation with me. When you have a consultation with me, you will get a book, and in that book, it describes exactly what to do to increase your muscle mass. Exactly what to do in that half hour, 2 to 3 times a week. Is that fair?
Yeah, I wanted it quicker.
I know, you got to answer it now, but we're going to move on.
That's such an American stereotype. I want it now.
But when we want it now, we usually don't actually do what there is to do.
So who knows who this is?
Yeah.
That Blake. Wow, you guys are awesome.
Mr. Juice Man.
Yeah. Jack LaLanne had a mission and purpose in life. Do you think he fulfilled his purpose?
Yes.
Yes. He helped millions of people. Millions. He was a coach for millions of people to increase their health, just simply by juicing. And so this is Jack in his late 80s, and this is Jack when he was younger. Some of you might not have seen pictures of him when he was a bodybuilder. And this was him even in his late 80s. So muscle mass, we just talked about muscle mass. We talked a little bit about foods, and we'll talk more about foods later on. So if you have the excuse in your mind, I'm too old, I'm sorry, I'm not going to accept that one. Oh, sorry, did I move the screen?
Kind of standing right in the...
Oh, am I in your way?
Something like that.
Something like that, okay.
But I mean, you're beautiful. I like the look of you.
Well, maybe you could shift your chair a little that way, and I'll shift my body a little this way.
That's the plan.
Awesome. All right, so Jack LaLanne was a coach. Who else has a coach? Something, anything. Jen, do you have a coach for
business,
For business.
for achieving my goal. I mean, I have several coaches, yeah.
Awesome. Who else has a coach for something? Do you have a coach?
Me for health and yoga teacher for.
Your yoga teacher for exercise. Awesome.
But Dr. Shwaluk, I think of the chiropractors that I go to, and you have saved my life many times. But I think of you as one of my coaches.
Yes, absolutely. And I am a coach.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm doing that more and more. And in fact, I have coaches. I have a coach. And this picture here is my husband and myself in Ecuador. And when I said, hey, I want to go to Ecuador, he said, well, do you speak the language? And I said, well, maybe I should get a coach. So for several months, twice a week for an hour, I had a Spanish-speaking coach come in and teach me. But the point is that sometimes we just can't do it all on our own. In fact, I was talking with a helicopter pilot yesterday who is a client, and I asked him, I said, so how did you learn how to be a helicopter pilot? And he says, well, you certainly can't learn from just reading a book. So how many of you have books on your shelf about health? Yeah, excellent. And he said, you certainly, at some point, actually have to get into the helicopter. So you have to actually get into your exercise clothes. That's very helpful. You have to go into the grocery store and kind of skirt the edges where all the good stuff is, the fruits and vegetables and so forth. And he said a couple of other things that were really powerful. One is, he said, and when you get in that helicopter, you must have your instructor next to you. Would you not want to have a coach next to you when you are taking on something big? Yeah. And then he said, sometimes you also have to have the courage to take action. And it's that courage that helps you put one step in front of the other to do whatever it is that you want. For me, it was speaking Spanish. For you, it may be taking another step towards increasing your health or finding answers so you don't have to take a medication. Because what's it all about in the end? It's about fulfilling your mission and purpose in life, right? The American Medical Association says that 80% of all chronic disease starts with some kind of stress. And there are physical stresses, like a car accident, like a bike accident, some kind of an injury. And there are chemical stresses. So you see this factory here, and then what do you think, what do you suppose is in that bottle? Beer. Beer? Could it be a soda, like one of the old-fashioned kind of sodas? Should I say root beer? Yeah. I'm down in Texas, so I should just call it Coke. It's all Coke. What kind of Coke do you want? I mean, so there's chemical stresses, but there's also chemical stresses for things that we often think are good for us, like bread, like corn, like soy. But those in this country are almost 100% genetically modified. Let's talk about soy, for example. And we'll see later on, soy increases estrogen in your body. How many of you knew that? Soy has phytoestrogens. Estrogen is actually one of the hormones that causes you to store fat. So all that lovely soy that you're eating, guess what? You're going to gain weight. Don't you wish we came with a manual? Here's the system. So there's chemicals such as the genetically modified. And I have some other chemicals here too. And maybe
That's bad stuff you got there.
you might recognize these. This one's baby pink. This one's they're not sure which gender it is. This one's baby blue. They're really pretty colors, so they must be healthy for you. If it had a skull and crossbones on it and it was red and black, would you eat it? No. But they don't always list the warnings on it. Like this one here, for example, has sucralose in it. Sucralose kills the natural bacteria that are supposed to be in your digestive tract. So perhaps a little heartburn, a little acid reflux, maybe feeling a little bloated, like things are just not digesting right. Could be this. Sweet and low. Sweet and low's been around forever. Yeah. Did you know that it is linked to brain tumors? Yeah, it is. Yes, you have a question?
The artificial sweeteners on an ant test, and it will kill the ants.
This one.
Developed as a nerve agent.
Yes,
of the
exactly.
army.
What she said, in case you didn't hear her, is the sweeteners, particularly this one, in the blue packet, they put it on ant hills, and it killed the ants. Turn off your cell phone, please.
What about stevia?
Stevia is okay. So let's talk about this one for a moment, because this is NutraSweet. It's also called aspartame. This is toxic to your nervous system. This is a neurotoxin. In fact, when people have too much of this, they have the same symptoms as someone that has multiple sclerosis. I have, in my practice, in my office, have asked people to stop eating this, stop drinking, diet, whatever, and their nerve symptoms go away. Be it sciatica, be it tremors, be it foggy thinking, clears up just by avoiding this. So sometimes it's the chemicals that we don't realize are so bad for us because we've just not been informed. So there's chemical stresses. And then lastly on this one is emotional stress.
Gum has aspartame. Almost every gum.
Almost every gum.
I had to stop chewing it.
Yeah. Emotional stress. Who has emotional stress? Okay, so there's two kinds of stress. There's stress that we can control, and there's stress that we cannot control. We have no control over what's going on in the world. I'm not going over to Syria to talk to the powers that be and say, hey, stop killing all those people. I don't have the power to do that. But what I do have the power to do is whether I tune into that and take in that negativity, or if I just do like a world update there to just kind of get a sense of what's happening in the world. So I'm not out of on, but I don't take in that negativity. Because what percentage of the news would you say is positive?
0.
I heard 0. Anything higher?
Well, there's maybe one story out of 100 that's positive.
One story out of 100 that's positive. So there are some things that we can just not have to let in. That person that always comes around complaining about everything in their life, it's okay to say, you know what, I am so sorry, I just don't have time right now. And just move on. You don't have to take in that negativity. There are things that you can control. The other thing also is years ago when I was working on my book, I published this several years ago, and notice the title is Take Charge, because it's all about you taking action. But what we did is we did a 12-week trial study with a whole group of women to find out if the techniques in the book would actually work. It's like, okay, I'm writing about this, it better work. So we did a 12-week trial study. And what all of the women said was that when they were healthier, they could actually handle more stress. The things that would have bothered them before just it didn't faze them. They didn't even notice. So the healthier you are, the less those stresses will bother you. The purpose of food. The purpose of food is to sustain life, provide energy, promote growth, and repair of tissues. So when I'm talking about food, I'm talking about food from the ground. And I'm not asking you to become a vegetarian, okay? So let me just explain this for a moment. Food from the ground is what?
Beans, fruits,
Vegetables, fruits. Whole foods, yeah. Nuts, berries.
That's a true, right?
And then when it comes to meat, all I ask is that you eat meat that the animal was able to eat food from the ground as well. Not genetically modified grain. That they were able to eat grass, that they were able to eat grains that were not covered with pesticides and herbicides. That's what I mean when I say food from the ground. Yes, Jamie?
Pretty much our conventional vegetables that you see in the store laced with the pesticides, and you should go to the organic.
Organic is going to always be better.
And if they don't have the organic stuff you want?
If they don't have the organic stuff you want, then you, at many stores, there's a place where you can request foods that you want, or there are many stores that also do have that. They do, like, who shops at Costco? Yeah, I love Costco.
Don't think you have to get too much of it.
I eat a lot, it just doesn't look like that.
Yeah.
It's that muscle. Okay, so in Costco, they're having more and more organic foods.
Yes.
And all of the stores are going this way. So keep asking them. Talk to the store manager.
Trader Joe's has a lot of that, and you can get it in reasonable size quantities there.
Yep. Yep. So organic is always better, but really, the choice is simple. Is this food going to help me? Is this food going to harm me? What are you going to put in your body? Does that make sense? I see you guys thinking. It's good. I love it. All right, let's talk about hormones. There are a few of the fat-storing hormones, and then there's a whole bunch of fat-burning hormones. The unfortunate thing is that when the fat-storing hormones are too high, it really renders the fat-burning hormones a little bit useless. It looks like you guys are writing these down, so I'm just going to wait for a moment before moving to the next slide. So what kinds of things will increase cortisol? Who knows what cortisol is?
Stress.
Stress, yeah. That's the stress hormone. That's the big belly fat hormone. And we're going to talk more about cortisol in a moment. Sorry, I'm in your way too. There's a seat right here, if you like. Francis, there's one right here, next to Judy. Yeah. Okay, everyone got them?
Nope.
Nope. The other thing regarding the hormones and foods is that there are times when our hormones are out of balance and we need to get them balanced. And to balance them in a natural way, we use something specific called a nutraceutical. So what that is a specific blend of herbs, vitamins, and minerals that help your body to balance whichever specific gland is out of balance. And the difference between taking a nutraceutical and a supplement is that a supplement generally you take like forever. How many of you take a General Multi one a day? Yeah, quite a few. Does your multi have a coating on it, like maybe a green coating or a white coating? People are shaking their heads. Good. They're shaking their heads now. You don't want to have a coating on it or it's just going to go right through you. It's not going to be effective. The difference between a regular supplement and a nutraceutical is when your body becomes healthy, that organ or that gland becomes healthy, you no longer need the nutraceutical. So there are specific things. That's part of what I do, is provide people with specific supplements, vitamins and herbs to help actually heal your pancreas, heal the thyroid, heal the gastrointestinal system. Okay, I'm moving on. Which body type are you? And it could be a combination. So the first one on the left there is the estrogen body type. Too high in estrogen, maybe eating a little too much soy, maybe need a few foods that will help you to reduce the amount of estrogen in your system. And then the next one is adrenal. I'm going to back out of the way a little bit so that you guys can see the screen better. So the adrenal, I always think of the adrenal person is kind of, they have this round kind of apple shape and they have little legs and little arms that stick out. So that's the really high cortisol, really high adrenal. And then the thyroid. The thyroid is no matter how much they starve themselves, no matter how much they exercise, they are not going to lose weight no matter what. So there. And then the final one is liver. Have you ever seen like a man particularly that looks like he's a little pregnant? My husband. Who said my husband? And that's liver. That's the liver, toxins in the liver. And what that is actually water. Because there's so much toxins in their system. What kind of toxins might that be?
Medication.
Medication. Who said that? The person in the back. Oh, Sherry. Hey, you're not supposed to answer. You're not there. It's medication. Or maybe they've been exposed to some kind of chemicals. When we detoxify the liver, that pregnant look will go away. And it happens in men and women. Some women look like this too. So let's talk about your lab test for a moment, because there are lots of different kinds of labs. The most common one for thyroid is the TSH. Now I'm standing in your way. The TSH level. Who's had their TSH tested? Awesome. Okay. Perfect. So if you go to the regular MD or the endocrinologist, their range is if you are lower than 0.3 or higher than 5.7, then there's a problem and you need some kind of medication. But what if we looked at the optimal range? The optimal range being 1.8 to 3.0. This is how we catch things happening before there's an outright problem. If you are currently taking a thyroid medication and your number is not within the 1.8 to 3.0, then you may still have some thyroid symptoms. And those are things that can be addressed very simply, as you know. She's nodding, yeah. Very simply, to get rid of any thyroid symptoms that you might have. So you might be thinking, okay, what symptoms are those? It could be foggy thinking. It could be a little constipation. It could be you're gaining weight slowly, even though you're exercising and eating right. It may be that you just are tired or waking up and feeling like you just haven't rested. Those are some of the thyroid symptoms, whether you're taking a medication or not. If your range is outside of the 1.8 to 3.0, there's an issue. And thank goodness, if it's just outside of that range, we can correct it very easily. We test, don't guess. So let's talk about testosterone for a moment. The lower outside of range is 200. So this is what ladies, take this home for your gentlemen, because it's usually the men that get tested. Lower than 200, there's definitely an issue. Higher than 800, there's definitely an issue. But if you've been tested, especially for men, so I'm talking to the men at the moment, and you're lower than 250, but above 200, they're going to tell you that you're fine. No problem. It's not an issue. But where would you like to be on that scale?
800.
800? Okay, so...
And where would your wife like you to be on that scale?
Yeah, her wife would. But the optimal range really is 650. So that's the optimal range. Now, there are some men that are in that optimal range. They're in between the 250 and the 650, and they still don't feel good. So what I mean by feel good is, now, how many of you are married or have been married? How many of you, your husband's a little grumpy? He's got what I call the grumpies. Or maybe he's kind of got headaches, kind of headachy, and he doesn't want to do anything. Like he used to go out and like play baseball or golf, and now he's like, yeah, the guys are going to play sports, but I just don't feel like going. This is a sign that either their testosterone is too low or their estrogen is too high. Now let's talk about cortisol. Cortisol controls our day and night rhythms. And when you go to the medical doctor to get your blood test, what time of the day do they test it generally?
First thing in the morning.
First thing in the morning, your fasting blood test. And most people, in the morning, their blood test is normal. And so they completely miss that maybe there's an issue with cortisol. What we do is we actually send you home with a little kit, and there's 4 little tubes in it, and 4 different times a day, you fill up the tube with saliva. You just spit in the tube and send it off to the lab. Because you see those blue dots there, with that line, there can be a cortisol issue that may not show up on your blood work, but it does show up on the saliva test. How many of you feel kind of around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're just kind of tired and have a little bit of an issue staying awake? Okay, and then how many of you have the opposite problem? 3 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock at night, in the middle of the night, you're like, wide awake, can't go back to sleep. A few people have that. I see a few people raising their hand. So this tells us that your adrenal glands that make the cortisol are not functioning properly. Cortisol is also one of the things that causes belly fat. Sometimes it's just that you're missing pieces. Maybe you've done a detox of some kind, a liver detox or an intestinal detox. Maybe you're eating the right foods. Maybe you've done Weight Watchers for a while, and that helped to some extent, but there was something missing. Maybe it was the building muscle part that was missing. Maybe it was the hormones, getting the hormones balanced, taking the right nutraceuticals to balance your body. And then also the nervous system. One of the things that I do is I am a chiropractor. The nervous system is the master system. It tells not only your muscles and your joints and so forth what to do, but it tells every single organ and gland what to do as well, except the thyroid. So that's why part of the reason why we do the lab test. But if the nervous system isn't functioning properly, can the rest of the system function properly? So which one of these would you like to leave out? None of them. You want them all. And what we do is we put it in a system, a complete system, where you get all of them working together. Because 94% of failure is due to not having a system. And it doesn't matter whether it's regarding your health, if it's regarding business, whatever it is that you want to do in life, if there's a system for learning, a system for doing it, then you will succeed. So what's the most important thing that you've learned this evening?
The exercise, 30 minutes 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Muscle, not necessarily cardio.
Yeah. So taking action. Taking action. No more sweet and low. Making sure you build your muscle mass. So all of this boils down to taking action. Because you've already said that you have lots of books on health at home, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So part of it is just taking action. I like this little character here. He's very cute, isn't he? So this is another testimonial, because sometimes we think of taking action that's going to be hard.
My back was great. It had been hurting for a couple of years. And when I came to see you for my back, it ended up helping me with a lot of other things. I feel much, much better. I can think more clearly, which is a huge thing. And I lost 40 pounds.
Cool.
With no effort at all.
Let me turn that down. So she lost how much weight? 40 pounds in 6 weeks.
Wow.
What? Yeah. Remember I said the thyroid person, they can starve themselves. She was starving herself. She was exercising every single day, an hour to an hour and a half, and she was gaining weight. I gave her the right nutraceuticals. We tweaked 2 things in her diet, and the weight just dropped off in 6 weeks. Yes, ma'am.
Was she on the synthetic, the replacements?
Yes.
Was she able to come off it, or does she still?
I'm not exactly sure. I'll have to ask. That's not usually what we talk about when she comes in now. But the thing that I want you to really recognize of what she said is that it was effortless. When you have the right information, when you have the right system of how to do things, it's not difficult. It can be very easy. Can you predict the future of your health? Oh, yes, you can. Oh, yes, you can. You order the right tests, determine what the underlying cause is. I sent out a survey to all of my thousands of patients this spring, and I asked them, "What is it that why do you come to see me? What brings you here?" And the number one thing they said, almost everyone, is they said, "You get to the underlying cause of what my issue is, and I do it fast." Focus on the cause, not the symptoms. The other thing about the testimonial that you just heard from Lily is for her, it wasn't about exercising to lose weight and starving herself to lose weight. What we did is we shifted her thinking a little. And I'm asking you to do that too. That maybe it's being healthy. It's her becoming healthy that caused her to lose that weight. That's what did it. Correct the dysfunction rather than just altering the labs. How many of you take a cholesterol medication? Anyone? Or know someone? Yeah, a few. So when you take that cholesterol medication, you're forcefully lowering the cholesterol level. But did you know that your own body makes cholesterol?
Well, that's probably hurting your liver. And that's
Yeah, so there's an issue with the liver. But when do you ever get to go off of that cholesterol medication? Yeah. It's the general public myth is that you don't ever get to go off that cholesterol medication. But when we cleanse the liver and get the liver functioning properly, then the cholesterol level will come down on its own. It's a symptom of something else going on in your body. Address the body as a whole. Use a systematic approach and have a mentor. We have an offer for you if you would like to participate. She's raising her hand already. And so we already established that when you go to your regular MD, it's going to cost you, well, back there, it was over $1,000 for a visit for the general physical. But generally, it's about, what, $200, $300? Okay. And how much time do you get to spend with the MD? 15 minutes max? Yeah. So if you had to pay that much money out of pocket every time, oh, and then also, how long did you have to wait in the waiting room? Yeah, she's like, yeah, that's the one. Is that a good value for your money? If you had to do that over and over again, you wouldn't. And so how much time should I spend with you when you come in for your consultation?
45 minutes to an hour.
45 minutes to an hour?
Whatever I need.
I love that answer. She said, whatever it is I need. So how about the first visit, we set aside an hour. And in that hour, we go over the consultation. We do a full evaluation. And we create a plan of action, a curriculum just for you. It includes all the things that we talked about. How does that sound? And I do have a fee for this. Generally, the fee for this is $287. Because if you don't have some skin in the game, then you don't value it. Just ask any teenager that you've given the keys to the car. Because you guys came here this evening and you were proactive, you're willing to learn and take responsibility for your health, I'm going to offer it to you for $87. And if there's someone in your family, a family member, maybe a sister, your significant other, your spouse, that would like to join you, then I'll let them have it for 47. And if there are multiple members of your family who would like to do the consultation, then I'll offer it to them for 47 as well. Yes, Derwin?
Okay, you're saying is this as a group or is this one-on-one? I mean, if my wife wants to do this, do we come together or do you do it separately?
You must bring your spouse with you. Why would you have to bring your spouse? Not your girlfriend, sorry. Nor your mistress. Why is it important for you to bring your spouse?
To have them a part of the plan to support you.
Yeah, to have them a part of the plan, to support you. Because of all the information that you learned tonight, how much of it are you going to remember tomorrow when they say, oh, what did you learn last night? The statistics show that it's only 7%. So if you send your husband in, well, first of all, me, I say more. But it's paramount to have your husband there, because if you're going to start making lifestyle changes and they're blindsided by it, is that fair? That's not fair at all to them. So when you have your consultation, it's very important that they're there with you. Okay. Most people fail instead of succeed because they give up what they want in the moment rather than really go after what it is that they really want. And that's to fulfill your mission and purpose in life, right? Yeah. So Sherry and Faye are going to come around with a form to fill out if you would like to take advantage of the consultation. And just go ahead and fill that out. And they will also come around with a clipboard. Please schedule a time and date tonight. We only have 20 spots available this month, and I know there are more than 20 people in this room. And I'm doing another talk on Saturday of this week, and another talk in a couple of weeks. If you are already a current patient, and you might be wondering what's different now, it's the curriculum. It's getting it all in one package. So if you are interested, even if you don't know if that's the time that your spouse is going to be able to attend with you, go ahead and schedule a time and a date.
Can we go into November and October doesn't work?
Go ahead and schedule something near the end of October, and if you need to move it into November, we at least have you on the schedule, and we can change it, move it into November. Oh, okay, good for you. Yes, Ginger?
What if we both want the full hour?
If you both want a full hour, then sign up for both of you. And there are some times where there's the hour back-to-back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do the 134?
Yes. Yeah. 134 for both. You're welcome. You're very welcome. Are there any general questions that anyone might have?
The lights on?
Oh, yeah. Faye or Sherry, would you turn the lights on, please? Yes, Denise.
You mentioned a book that had the exercises in it. Is that part of the 87 in the consultation and plan?
Yes, ma'am.
It is?
It is. You get to have a book. Just remember that you can't fly a helicopter with just a book.
Right.
Laura, I don't see any place to put time down on this one.
Oh, Sherry or Faye will come along with a clipboard, and they're going to find a time for you. Yes, because we need to get your name down on that. Oh, Larry, you're so sweet. Let's give Larry a hand. That was so awesome.
I left my purse at home. I didn't have a credit card.
Yes, ma'am.
We put the credit card details down. When will you come up on credit card?
If there's a date that you would prefer it to be after, then you can just write that down. But generally, it would be by the end of this week that we would put the numbers in for your credit card.
Can I call tomorrow and let you know if my sister and my husband's coming?
Yes, so go ahead and schedule your appointment now. And actually, if it's somebody, now, I want everyone to hear this. If it's somebody that has not heard me talk, I really want them to attend a talk first. Because didn't we cover a lot tonight?
Yes.
And if they just came into the consultation without knowing this knowledge, without having this education, wouldn't that be kind of they feel like they're behind. So we'll make sure that, I'll email the dates for the next talks coming up, and I really have you invite them to the talk.
Okay.
I'll still offer it to them because they're being proactive. The talk this week is, and I sent out an email about it. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to email it to you. I know it's Saturday. But there's also a talk on the 24th that would be very helpful.
Is it the same subject matter?
Yes. It won't be here. It will be at another location. Do we have enough forms for people to sign to register? Did anyone not get a form that wants to? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You're welcome. Jerry?